1997 to study as a graduate student at the University of Minnesota. Lifetime-long friendship there when I was a student. And then I moved to Maple Grove and then Eden Prairie. And I've lived in Eden Prairie for over 10 years. And it's truly an honor to speak here, because what I'm going to share with you today actually is a brief summary of the tremendous efforts and work by our many passionate volunteers in our community to fight this discriminatory ethnic data desegregation. But many of them, they don't want to come to the stage to talk. They only want to do things. They all believe I want to do both. So I'm up here to actually to speak on this issue, representing them. Though I'm on the stage here, but I really think the spotlight should be given to those volunteers for our efforts, from our community. So I really ask the audience today to give a round of a big applause to the many passionate volunteers to work behind the scene for this event, and also for our community's endeavor to stop ethnic data desegregation. Okay, before I start, I really want to share something kind of unique with everyone here, because it's related to our community's history. I love history because history is interesting. It can always reveal something interesting to us. Okay, very interesting. Okay, the two photos shown here, actually the first Chinese family living in this state. Okay, and they got married in 1892. I forgot the husband's name, but the young lady's name is Mei Xin. That's her first name. I think her last name is Liang Mei Xin. Okay, so that's the couple, and also their adopted son living with them. Okay, and actually, very interesting, the first record of Asian American living in the state is a Chinese American, and his name is Mr. Wang Xiling. In the year of 1875. So we should be feeling really proud of our history. It's really a long time immigration community, okay? And talking about this young lady, Mei Xin, and she was from Canton, okay? Leaving homeland 1,000 miles away, and then come to California, and then come to the really icy cold Minnesota. Okay, there must be a reason, okay? So, can anybody guess why in the year of 1892 they left San Francisco and coming to Minnesota? Oh. Okay, because of the Chinese Exclusion Act in the year of 1882, and also many violence and murders against the Chinese immigrants in different communities. We can work for better opportunities in this country, not rely on the government. Okay, so this is something unchanged. Okay, more historical photo. The first University of Minnesota diploma issued to a Chinese American in the year of 1918. So remember the first Chinese immigrant in the year of 1872. So after almost 50 years, there's the first Chinese American college graduate from the University of Minnesota. Okay, and this photo on the right showing a kind of like a church, Sunday school in the year of 50. So still, caring families, hardworking people, and trying to build a stronger community in Minnesota. Here's something I also want to share with everyone here, something really relevant to our life, to our kids today. That's from Dr. King. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Okay, as a devoted Chinese American parents, we work so hard and try to help our kids to develop a unique character in every one of them. And we want to fight. Against any discrimination against our kids based on the color of their skin, and also many more discriminations. Nowadays, even the ethnicity of our kids. So that's the whole purpose of our event today. Basically, we want to learn, and also we want to motivate ourselves to fight for a better future. Okay, now I want to start to share about some facts about the ethnic data desegregation in our state. Okay, and a lot of people abbreviate it as data desegregation. So actually, we're fight only about the specific ethnic data desegregation. So this bill, some years ago, already has become a law in our state. So for now, we can't change it, though we work really hard, in the past several months. And though we already got some really supportive legislators in our community to support our endeavors, but it's very challenging because it is already a law signed by the Governor Dayton in May of 2017. And the Minnesota Department of Education has already started the implementation. Okay, so this fall, right upon the opening of the school year, 5 pilot school districts in Minnesota will start to implement this law. So every student family, they will receive the ethnic data collection form, either online or in paper, to collect the detailed ethnicity information from their kids. So these 2 pilot school districts are Minnetonka, St. Paul, Community Peace Academy. So these first 3 are the 3 school districts in the Twin Cities metro area, Minnetonka, St. Paul, and also the Community of Peace Academy is in the East St. Paul, with the majority of students as minority students. And Worthington Public Schools and the Schoolcraft Learning Community, they are school districts in the rural area, about a 3-4 hours drive from the Twin Cities area. But, starting this fall, many families, especially minority families, are faced with this very problematic and discriminatory policy. And the next school year, in the school year of 2019 to 20, Minnesota Department of Education will implement this law in every public school in our state. So the advocates of this law has started their endeavors to push through the bill and the law even before the year of 2012. And as one of the major Asian American communities were totally left out. We didn't know, even we're the top 5 most populous Asian American community, no one reached out to give us any update or involve us in this very important law impacting every minority student. And even during the legislative process of this law, one of the major advocates, the Council on Asian Pacific Minnesotans, which is really a supporter of the passing of the law, they don't even have a Chinese board member on board for the several months during the important legislative process. So we were not involved, and many of the parents don't even think that the policy making, the legislation will have a tremendous impact on our families, our kids. So why we are so strongly against this law? So there are several major reasons. And among our Chinese communities, many volunteers are already put in summary the major points, the major reasons why we're so against this problematic law. The first is it's creating more divisions and discriminating against the minority students. Imagine that every minority kids from immigrant family, whether you are first generation, second generation, even third generation Chinese American students, you will still be labeled as Chinese when you fill out the form, which you kind of permanently labeled as a foreigner in this country. And also, this law, in the process of data collection, storage, and analysis, it will bring more risks of racial bullying and harassment into every Minnesota public school. And research has shown that Asian American has already suffered the highest rate of classroom racial and ethnic-based bullying and harassment. And this law will just make it worse. And also another major reason, it will be exposing children to higher privacy risks. The Minnesota Department of Education, they claim they have a secure storage of the data, but they don't have any control or guidance for the school districts to handle the data. So it could be disastrous if there's any leakage of those kind of sensitive ethnic data of our kids into the public. The last but not the least important, it's a big waste of taxpayers' money. Okay, implement this law will take millions of dollars of taxpayers' money before it generates any results or support to those students who really struggle academically. And after spending millions of dollars, on the staff, on training, on the data facility, hiring vendors, there's only data, and there's not any spending or supports resources for those students really in need. So that's the major reasons we are so concerned and we are so strongly against this law. Okay, talking about the implementation, which is going to take place very soon, even toward the end of this summer. I want to show you the forms and the evolvement of the forms to show how the Department of Education has been implementing this law. Okay, this pink sheet is the very first version of this law. Okay, so this Minnesota law, it only required the school district to collect the information as kind of like an optional choice from minority students beyond the 7 major racial and ethnic categories required by the federal level. Okay, so under this new law, 7 most populous Asian American groups plus Karen, okay, will be listed as kind of like a categories there, and then 7 major Hispanic and Latinos ethnic categories will be listed, and then 5 African American subcategories, and then 3 Native American categories will be listed on this form. But look at the first version of this form. It didn't explain it is optional. The word in the red box give everybody the impression that they have to fill it out. Okay? And otherwise, the school will fill it out for you. That's totally wrong. And then the second box in the lower part, please respond to all the questions below. Okay, didn't indicate anything about the optional choice. Okay, give every student parent an impression, you've got to fill it out. It's a requirement, which is totally wrong, which is not a objective reflection of the Minnesota law. So on the second page of this first version of the form, about Asian American, so there's no other choice. You have to select one or more of the following groups, including the 7 most populous Asian American groups, Asian Indian, Burmese, Chinese, except the Taiwanese, that's kind of the older version, Filipino, Hmong, Korean, Vietnamese, and other Asian. So when the volunteers in the community learned about this form, okay, and learned there would be the first community feedback meeting about this form, hosted by Minnesota Department of Education, we mobilized and we showed up and we provided our feedbacks, and very passionate, critiques of this law. Then, only then, because we stood up and we showed up and we expressed and voiced our concerns, the Minnesota Department of Education started to make revisions according to the law loyally to create this forum. But there are many happenings, back and forth. Okay, the community's volunteers met with the Minnesota Department of Education for how many times? 5 or 6 or 7, 7 times we couldn't remember. And at one time they give us a form changed based on our feedback, and then later, without letting us know, they create another form saying, hey, this is a semi-finalized version, and send it to the legislators. So that's thanks for those volunteers who are so persistent and work so hard to work the Minnesota Department of Education, and then we are able to change the form, to make it better. So now this is the new form. Basically, this would be the version of the form distributed to whoever designed the form and trying to collect the information for our community. And besides filling out the form, when it's ready and available from our school districts, and handle it in the way that we just discussed, there are many things that we could do. We could do more. We could, from each community, from each concerned parent, we could send an email or letters to your school district superintendents, school board members, and also your legislators. Let them be aware of the concerns and the problems this law has generated in our communities. And it's very important to let your legislator know about this issue and your concerns. So going back to the legislation process for this law, many legislators, they are not aware of our concerns because we were not involved. And as we participate more, as we realize we have to voice our concerns, is a great opportunity for those legislators to seriously listen to us and evaluate our concerns, and then make efforts to amend the law or to even, as we want, to repeal and stop this law totally in our state. In the implementation, the school districts are very important because the Minnesota Department of Education, they designed the form, but then they sent the form as a suggested or proposed form template for each school district to decide how they want to use the form and distribute the form, or if there are any additional questions or information they want to collect on the basis of those requirements. So the school districts do have a lot of say. And also, very importantly, they are the office are going to bear a lot of costs to implement this form. Because Minnesota Department of Education, they only have a funding for them to maybe collect the data, run the data, but they don't have any funding for training the school district staff or support the school district to work with vendors. And it will become very costly for each school district to really implement this law. So that's the reason why, two other communities, Minnetonka students' parents, and also Eden Prairie parents, organized meetings with their school district superintendent to discuss those issues. And I was at these 2 meetings, and I knew exactly how we went through the process to make the meeting happen. So I do want to share a little bit more with you guys because I can anticipate that in the future, your community will also have this kind of dialogue, communication with your school district officials. So on the lower left is the meeting with the superintendent from Minnesota School District, Dr. Peterson, and the lower right is our meeting with like this. And also at the same time, Without changing the law, the millions of dollars taxpayers' money will be spent on this thing without creating any good results. So at least for these two major concerns, we are not going to be satisfied with just being provided with optional choice. We want to keep working and change the law and stop this law. Also, question number 2, will the repeal of data segregation hurt the students in need, which was the claimed purpose of this law? Our answer is no. The Minnesota department, the government, the Department of Education has already a lot of detailed information, more crucial or more explanatory about the student's performance, including the information on whether the student is an English learner in the ESL program, whether the student's home-spoken language is English or other language, whether this student is on a lunch plan from a lower income family, whether this student is from foster care or previously on foster care. So those information in the hands of a government can actually provide a lot of resources and good support for generating more effective public policies to resolve our achievement gap issue without using this discriminatory and problematic practice of collecting sensitive ethnic information. So I'm done with my part. Do we still have some question and answer time? Segregation law is, we really need to get involved in politics. We need to care about what's going on the legislative floor. We need to get to know our legislators, and we need to be aware of the major legislation. So it's really our honor to have Minnesota House Representative Jim Newberger to share with us, to help us learn more about politics.